What's good, you guys? Welcome back to another video. So today's video is actually going to be a story time. If you follow me on Facebook, then you probably already seen me speak a little bit about this matter. It's pretty much how my son recently got kicked out of daycare for literally no apparent reason at all. The whole situation was fishy, and it's currently an investigation going on right now as we speak. So if you guys are interested in that, then definitely stay tuned. If you're not already following me on Facebook, go ahead and do so now. I will leave that link down below for you guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Nikia. Thanks so much for tuning in. So where do I begin? I'm pretty much going to give you guys a little bit of backstory. So my youngest son, which he just had a birthday, 9/9, he turned 3. He's been home with me since birth. Now, it wasn't until he was the age of 2 that I decided that I wanted to go back to work. So I needed to find him a daycare so that could be possible for me. When I say he's been home since birth, me and my son have developed a relationship that's literally like, he understands me, I understand him, we communicate very well with each other, and that's another reason why I felt like, you know, he was really ready to go ahead and get out there because he could kind of tell me certain things. May of this year, I began looking around for daycare centers, and I wasn't getting much luck because, you know, not all daycares have openings right away. Sometimes you have to be placed on a waiting list and wait. But luckily, I met a girl, and she told me about a facility that her child went to and how it was a great daycare and how she could possibly get me in. So I ended up speaking to the owner. I believe it was on like a Friday, and my son was able to start that Monday. So I was very grateful for that. As you guys know, when you enroll your child in any kind of school or anything, you have to fill out paperwork, applications, and things like that. We literally pretty much just skipped all of that. I paid her the money on Monday, and he was able to start. I remember my son's first 2 days of daycare going pretty well, but I remember the third day like it was yesterday because I remember reaching out to Facebook and asking other parents, was it normal for their kids to show signs that they didn't really want to go to daycare? Like he was crying, he didn't want to go, he was giving me a really hard time that morning. And a lot of you guys had reached back out and gave me a lot of feedback and let me know that yes, it was pretty normal. You know, some of their kids were still doing it, and they've been enrolled in daycare for some time, in which I can understand because it's like some kids just don't be in the mood or they just want to stay home with mom. Like I said, he's been with me since birth, so you know he wants to be around me all day every day. That's literally like my little best friend. So on the third day, he was crying, he didn't want to go, and even the owner had communicated to me. She's like, well, you should try a different method. Maybe like when you drop him off, try not to baby him so much, just like drop him at the door and leave. And a little bit of background about the facility. So when you drop your child off, you're not able to go inside. You pretty much just knock on the door, ring the doorbell, whatever, and the teacher comes in, checks their temperature, they take them from there. So eventually I tried that. It was like I would just try to drop him at the door and leave, and she was telling me that you know, most of the time he was good. Right after I left, he would stop crying. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now, as time went on, like I said, my son communicates very well. He began to tell me certain things that was going on. Like one day he came home and told me that he got pushed down in a sandbox outside. And I'm like, you know, who did it? And he told me the name. So I had reached out to the owner. She had agreed to sit down with me. She brought me into the office, showed me the camera. She even gave me her personal cell phone number and, you know, try to reassure me that nothing crazy was going on. She let me know that the name that he gave me was actually the name of his teacher and another little child in the classroom, which was his teacher's son. Huge red flag because to me personally, I feel like that's a conflict of interest. I know even when you apply to jobs and things like that, they ask you, do you have any relatives that work there, for reasons like this, because it's a conflict of interest. And I would assume it's the same in a daycare setting. And it's like, I can understand that, you know, we as single parents, sometimes we just got to do what we got to do. If our child got to come to work with us, then so be it. So he kept expressing to me like every other day that this person was picking with him. Now at this point, it's like I'm trying to ask him if it's the big person or the little person. For confidentiality reasons, I will not be dropping any names in this video. But so I would try to like make it clear whether or not he was talking about the teacher or the child. And even when I expressed this concern to the owner, you know, she even kind of looked at me crazy, which was another red flag because it's like she tried to look at me in a way where it's like, well, he can't be talking about the teacher. He got to be talking about a child. And I'm thinking the complete opposite because, you know, we're not going to sit up here and make it seem like there has not been cases that there has been adults that has been doing strange things to kids. God forbid that was what was going on. But, you know, I can't just cast that part of the story out because at the end of the day, he know what he's talking about. So she tried to say, you know, she don't hire people like that. Her employees are educated. They're continuing their educations and, you know, don't be so on defense that his child is a man, because I make sure that he's not too aggressive with the kids and all this. And I try to let her know, like, I don't discriminate. It's nothing like that. I'm just strictly going based off of what my child is telling me. She reassured me that nothing was going on. So it was like, okay, my child continued to go to daycare. When my child would come home and tell me certain situations that was going on, I would just take him home as a mother and try to like express to him what's nice, what's mean, so he can kind of get a better understanding of how he's being treated, whether or not like somebody is picking on him. I try to tell him like how to defend himself and things like that, because I feel like that's what's most important. Like, not everybody is going to be able to solve a situation that you run to them with. It's more important for you to instill, you know, what you need to in your child. So that's what I began to do. And so fast forward, they had like a spirit week or whatever, and I had forgot to drop off his blanket. Now, when they can't stay there unless you drop them off with everything that they need for the day, so I told them that I would come back later that morning and drop it off. They agreed, said it was fine, and that's what I did. So as I stated, I went up to the door like I normally do, and I rang the doorbell, waited for the teacher to come, and there's a window on the door, and normally the blinds are down so you can't see anything. But this particular day, the blinds were up, so I was able to look into the classroom. So I kind of like peeked down and looked through, and what I overheard the teacher saying was, clean up the toys. And when I tell you guys, all of this happened within a matter of seconds. Like, it really wasn't that long, because before the teacher came to the door. So when I looked through the window, what I witnessed was my son like kneeling down, picking up toys from underneath the table, and I witnessed the same little child step on my son's back, and I heard my son scream out like, stop, get off of me. And then shortly after that, he went over and pushed another little girl, Caucasian little girl, in her chest. And mind you, the teacher is standing right there over the situation, not with his back turned or any of that. He's literally standing there watching it. And not once did I hear him say anything like, don't do that, get off of him, go sit in timeout, none of that. So he came to the door. Literally, he was standing like right in front of the door. All he had to do was turn around. So he came, he got the blanket. And when I tell you guys, like, I was literally sitting here in shock, and I didn't know what to say besides give him the blanket. That's exactly what I did. And he went back inside and closed the door, because I'm sitting there trying to think to myself, like, I know that's not what I just seen go on. Like, and I'm not trying to like just assume something and run with it, because again, now that I find out that this is your son, you know, it's kind of hard for me to communicate certain situations with you, because I'm not trying to make it seem like I have a problem with you or your child. Again, you're the person that's watching my child all day long. I don't want you to not like me and start treating my child some kind of way. So I wasn't trying to take the situation too personal. I'm like, you know, maybe, you know, this little boy's just having a bad day and he's picking on people this morning. When he took the blanket and went back inside the classroom, I actually went to go look back through the window again, because I'm like, hold on, let me get a feel for what's really going on. And when I went to go look back through the window, the teacher came back to the door almost immediately, because I guess he seen me, and he kind of was looking like, you know, is there a problem? And I'm like, oh no, it's fine, you know, I'm just checking on my child. And he kind of looked like really like bothered or frustrated that morning. So he was just like, okay, and he went back inside and shut the door. At that point, I didn't want to be weird and just keep sitting there looking through the window. So I'm like, you know what, I'ma just try to, like, you know, not take that as for what it was that I just seen. Like, I don't, so I'm just like, okay, like, I'm not gonna overreact. Maybe, you know, it wasn't what I thought it was, because what I thought I seen was something completely different. I seen the teacher standing over the situation and allowing his son to just do whatever the hell it is he allowed him to do. But again, not trying to assume or blame or accuse anybody of anything. I was just like, you know what, my son's okay, he's not crying anymore, he's up off the ground, cool. So I leave. Now there was a situation where I guess when I had expressed my concerns to the owner, she went back and relayed the messages to the teacher, which I didn't want to do, because like I said, I didn't want to cause any problems. So he had came to me one morning where my son was crying, acting like he didn't want to go in the classroom, and the teacher was like, oh, you know, like, he's crying but he's fine, it's just that some of the other kids are a little rough and he's not as rough as them. And it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of took that some kind of way, because what do you mean he's not as rough as the other kids? Like, my son is not here for a wrestling match, he's here simply for school. So it definitely gave, like, you're allowing the kids to maybe fight. I don't know, that's just what it gave. And the owner tried to say like, oh no, when he said that, he just, you know, he's very blunt, he was just telling you how it is. But for me as a mother, it's like, well, I know my child. He has 2 older brothers and an older sister as well. I see how he is around the house. Like, he's not the type of child to just sit there and be picked on. So, like, I don't really know what you meant by that, but okay. Fast forwarding to this past Monday, September the 11th, I went to go pick up my son from daycare. And the moment that he locked eyes with me, he immediately started crying. And he was like near the teacher. It was 2 teachers in the room, but he was near the male teacher. Now, from what I had gathered, like I said, you can't go inside the facility when you drop your kids off. You just drop them at the door. But what I have experienced so far, just a few seconds that I've even been dropping my son off, is one, the little child that he keeps on complaining to me about is definitely a problem. He's coming to the door. He's throwing toys out the door. His dad is yanking him up, putting him back in the classroom, sucking his teeth with an attitude. He's pushing other little kids. So when I went to go pick my son up, he was sitting next to the male teacher. And whenever I would pick him up, it seemed as if he was always next to this teacher. Now, I don't know if that was his doing, like if he just wanted to be around the teacher, maybe it was just a coincidence, or if the teacher was just always around him. So he began crying, and he came to me, and the other teacher in the classroom, you know, she came to me and she was like, she put on her little voice. I don't know if that's how she is all day long, because, you know, come on now, I know that everybody has a different side to them. Even my daughter has told me a situation where I went to her bus stop and her bus driver was all friendly, and the moment that she shut that door, she was back talking about people's parents. So, you know, I don't really put anything past anyone. So she came to the door with her little voice on, like, oh, Mom, you know, it's okay. He's just crying because the other little kids was leaving, and he just wanted to leave. I can assure you nothing went on. He was fine all day. And I'm not going to lie, you guys. My son started in May. So May, June, July, August, September. About 4 months he's been enrolled in daycare. When I say that all the teachers are very welcoming at the door, that's just how they are. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's how they are all throughout the day, but that's what it gave. So when the moment she started talking and like putting on that little friendly voice, like, oh, he's fine, something just went off in me, and I don't know what it was, but it kind of told me, like, don't listen to that. Speak to your child and see what really went on. I don't know if it was a voice. I don't know if it was like, when I tell you, like, I seen a face behind the illusion that she was trying to give. That's what happened to me that morning. Like, it was sort of like a reality check, like, wake the fuck up. So you know, she closed the door, whatever. My son's still crying at this point, so I walk him to the car. You know, I'm holding him, I'm trying to soothe him, ask him if he had a good day. He told me no. I put him in a car and I start to drive away, and I'm trying to ask him more questions because, you know, usually he's able to communicate to me certain situations. But this particular day, like, he was crying, and it was not like a normal cry. It was a concerning kind of cry. And, you know, it was bothering me to the point where I was starting to get upset because he wasn't telling me what was going on. Like, I literally even had to call his dad to try to get his dad to talk to him, calm him down, and stuff like that. And he still wasn't saying anything to anybody. He was just crying, and he just kept repeating the same thing, like, after daycare, like, no, he didn't have a good day. So his dad even had to tell me, like, just calm down, speak to him softly, you know, maybe he'll open up to you. So I'm like, okay. So we finally get to the house, and I park, and I put my son in the front seat with me, and I just hug him, and I try to reassure him that I love him, that everything's okay. He can speak to me. He's still crying, just bawling, tears, like, his chest is heavy. He looks so stressed out, you guys. And so eventually, as I kept asking him questions, he finally opened up to me, and he told me that he got hurt by the same person. He mentioned his name again. And I'm like, are you hurting right now? He said yes. You guys, when he said yes, that shit broke me down. Like, that shit damn near broke my heart. Like, I just started crying with him. Like, I'm just hugging him, crying with him, trying to tell him that everything's going to be okay. He doesn't have to worry. Like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. He doesn't have to go back. Like, somebody hurt you, mommy's going to figure it out. So I called the daycare back, and I asked to speak to the owner. They told me she wasn't there, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll reach out to her personal number that she gave me. So I did. I called the personal number, and nobody answered. So I went ahead and I sent her a text message, because we previously was texting before, which we had a thread. And mind you guys, I recorded this everything. Like my son crying, telling me what went on, naming the person that had hurt him, all of that. I recorded all of that because I already knew, like, if it was ever something that really went down, I'm gonna need all this proof and documentation because I need to show you guys exactly how my son was reacting. So I did record it, and I'm not really sure if I want to insert that video just yet, but I do have those recordings on file. So when I text the number, somebody actually texted me back and was like, "Oh, you had the wrong number. This is not the person you're looking for." And I'm just kind of like confused because I'm already bothered and I feel like I'm being played with. Like, is somebody playing on my phone right now? Like, how is this not the right person? I screenshot the messages that we had previously before and everything and sent it to them. They're like, no, this is not the right person. So I'm like, okay, huge red flag. I can't get in contact with the owner. I'm gonna have to wait until the next day. And by this point, I already told my son he don't gotta go back, and I'm not sending him back until I figure out what's going on. So the next morning, Tuesday morning, September the 12th, I called back to the daycare, and the first 3 times that I called, nobody picked up. And at this point, it's like, all right, they probably know my number. Like, something strange is going on. Why is nobody answering the phone? Any other time I'm able to get in contact with the owner, just fine. So one of the staff members finally picks up the phone, and they're like, "Oh, hi, she's in a meeting. Can I take a message?" And I'm like, "No, I'll just call back." Then she asked me, "Well, is this Preston's mother?" Y'all, mind you, I didn't want to tell them who it was because I didn't want them trying to arrange or like get anything in order before I got to speak to this lady myself, because I already felt like something fishy was going on. So she asked me that, and I'm just like, you know what? Yes, it's his mother. And she's like, "Okay, I'll get her to call you back." So I'm like, okay, cool. 2 hours go by, and the owner finally calls me back. She's like, "Hi, Mom. How are you doing?" And I'm honest with her. I'm telling her, like, I'm not good. I'm not good at all. I've been trying to reach out to you since yesterday. I called your personal cell phone number. Something happened to my child, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So she immediately gets on the fence, and she's like, "Well, what do you mean you reached out to my personal cell phone number? I changed my number, and I didn't have to notify you of that at all. I only did that to make you feel comfortable, and all this other stuff." So I'm just like, well, okay, I'm confused. Why give out your number if I'm not going to be able to use it for situations that, for emergencies like you told me to? And so she was like, "Okay, well, what happened?" And I explained to her everything that my son had told me. And I asked her if I could come into the center so that I could review the cameras with her, because now my son is telling me that he got hurt. And you told me that if he ever got hurt that I could come in and view the cameras. And she was like, "You know what, Mom?" And she said to me, "You know what, Mom? You keep on coming to me with these problems about your son and not trusting his teachers and telling me that he's getting picked on by kids. I can assure you right now that I already viewed the cameras this morning and nothing went on yesterday. So if you got a problem, then I don't really know what to tell you. I don't have to show you the cameras. I don't have to show you anything like that." So I'm like, well, wait a minute, because my son is saying he got hurt. What do you mean you're not showing me the cameras? And also, why would you go and review the cameras before you even speak to me and know what the issue was? Like, it's given very much something went on and y'all are trying to cover it up. And I'm like, honestly, I don't feel like it's fair that you even went around to the staff to ask them what went on with my child before I even got to tell you what happened, because it's given you already had your mindset on how you was going to go about this conversation. And she was like, "Oh no, it's nothing like that, but I could tell you I already viewed the cameras. I'm not showing you the cameras. I'm not required to show you the cameras. I just want to know what's going on." She was like, "Well, you know what, Mom? You don't trust me. You don't trust my staff. You keep coming to me with issues. You're the only parent complaining. Nobody complains about my staff. All of my employees are the greatest. I had to let somebody go in the past for the way that they was handling the kids in a way that I didn't like it, and trust me, I wouldn't allow nobody to be in here if they was mistreating the kids and yada yada yada." And I'm just like, I hear you, but I hear my son as well, and what you're telling me is that what he's saying is not true, and I don't like that, because my child doesn't have a reason to lie to me. All I want to do is get to the bottom of what's going on, so we can solve it. And mind you guys, when she brought me into the office the first time, she told me that the little boy that was picking on him was actually the teacher's son, and that he wasn't even enrolled in the daycare, and how he was going to be leaving in 2 weeks to go back to his mom and all this other stuff. I don't know their situation. This is just what I was told, was that he would be leaving in 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, when my son was coming to me telling me the problems or whatever, I'm just thinking to myself, like, he won't have to deal with this too much longer, because this little boy will soon be gone. That was not the case. It was like a month in and the little boy was still there. So I'm on the phone asking her about that. Like, oh, you told me this little child would be going in 2 weeks. What happened with that? And she's like, oh, you don't question me. Like, I can't control certain situations. Yeah, he's still here. I don't really know what you want me to do. Like, she's shutting me down. She's being very unprofessional. I had to record that conversation as well because I'm like, something ain't right. And she's like, well, since you don't trust me or my staff, the best advice I got for you, not even trying to be rude, you could send your son somewhere else. And I'm like, well, that's not even the road that I'm trying to go down because I still got to go to work. I'm not saying I don't trust you. I'm not saying I don't trust the teachers. I'm just trying to figure out why my son keeps saying that he's being picked on, and if it's possible to come in and review the cameras. If what you're saying is truthful and honest, then you shouldn't have a problem with that. But she refused. She would not. She refused. She kept telling me no, and that she'd rather just dismiss him from the daycare. So she was like, you know what, Mom? I'm gonna give him 5 days. His last day is going to be Friday. You can send him somewhere else. Mind you, it's Tuesday. Friday wouldn't even have been 5 days. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, I hang up the phone, and at this point, I feel like maybe I'm tripping. So I go to Facebook and I express to Facebook what was going on, and I had so many people reach back out to me, give me so much feedback, advice, love, and support, and I appreciate you guys so much for that. Like, I honestly can't thank you enough, because when I tell you that my mind was all over the place, I literally didn't know what to do. I knew that the situation was not right, but I didn't know the right steps to take. And you guys gave me that information. And when I tell you that I took every bit of information that you guys gave me and tried to execute it, I did. Like, and I'm not even the type of person that like tries to bring other people down or anything like that. But it's just something about the situation that was not right. And also, I also had more than 5 different people come to me and share their stories about this same daycare center and how they believe that something fishy was going on too, and how they've had to pull their kids out. So that right there confirmed to me that, I wasn't losing my mind. People was telling me that she didn't have the right to refuse the video footage if I'm requesting it as a parent, how her license could be suspended, how I can report her to child care licensing, how I can subpoena to have the videos released. And it's just like, oh my gosh, okay. So I do want to shout out both of the people that had helped me. One of the girls had put me in contact with the correct social worker that I needed to speak to, and another girl had put me in with the newfound daycare center so my son could start somewhere else. And I appreciate you guys so much for that. So I reached out and I contacted the social worker, and she had took the information down. She was telling me how like that was really strange, and how the owner didn't even really give me enough time to release him like she did, because it wasn't even a full 5 days. And that she would reach out to the owner. So I hung up with her. I said okay, and then I contacted child care licensing, and I let them know the situation and what it is that I could do to figure out what happened with my son. She took the story and she told me that they would do an investigation, and if I wanted the results when it was complete, I said absolutely. She told me they would be in contact. So like I stated, it is an investigation that's currently going on, and I just hope and pray that nothing too crazy was happening, because from what other people were saying, it's like, yeah, something's definitely going on, and God forbid like it's anything adult and child related, because that's just sickening. But if it is anything like that going on, I do feel like for some reason God revealed it to me, because I don't know why. Maybe I'm the one who needed to see it and reveal it. I don't really know why things happen the way they do. But all I know is whatever is going on, it needs to stop, because if it's not my child, it'll be the next person's child, and that's just not okay. So yeah, they're currently doing an investigation. My son did start his new daycare this Thursday. I believe it's September the 14th. We went and we did a tour. He met his new teacher. That morning that I dropped him off, he was so full of life, you guys. When I tell you that his whole demeanor changed, like he was happy, he was smiling, he didn't give me a hard time, honey. His little body was just full of life, and I loved it. Like, it really showed me that he was appreciative of me as his mother, understanding him at such a very young age. And it showed through the roof, and I'm very grateful, and I'm just very thankful for all of it. So let's just continue to pray that this is the right place for him, because it is very hard trying to find other people to care for your children. Not saying that everybody's not qualified, but not a lot of people have patience and know how to deal with other people's kids. So they seem like really nice people, and again, I appreciate the one who put me in contact with this center so that I could continue with work. So yeah, you guys, that's pretty much it for now. I will try to update you guys as much as I can. But that's pretty much it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for clicking to watch. If you have not already subscribed, go hit that subscribe button because I will be doing a part 2 to this story. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.